But I think, just as the brief introduction, today we're going to talk about this journal that many of you participated in. There's one of our speakers, great. And we're going to start out by hearing from Dr. Klaas Schwartz, who, together with Mireia Tutsus and myself, co-wrote an editorial, which kind of tried to sum up and put into perspective the various articles that we received in the special issue journal that we have been collating over the past couple of years. So. Without further ado, let's hear it for Klaas Schwartz. Please come on up and share a little perspective on this journal.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. How does the slides work? Do I? So I would just like to introduce the special issue that we have developed over the past 2 years, and basically on the basis of the articles that we received and that were developed as part of the special issue, we came sort of to the conclusion that water operator partnerships are all about trying to find a balance that works. And I will try to explain that. Before explaining the special issue and the articles that were part of that issue, we have the Boosting Effectiveness in Water Operator Partnerships project. And this is the project that we run jointly with WOPs. The project has basically 3 objectives. The first is that we try to capture and analyze knowledge about water operator partnerships and try to disseminate that to a broad audience. We also try to share knowledge to boost the effectiveness of WOPs through developing tools, guidance products, the communities of practice, which are run by WOPs, training programs that we have developed and implemented over the past years, and also the WOP Congress that you're currently part of. A third objective is about communication and advocacy, basically trying to promote the WOP model as a way of developing capacity of water utilities. And the special issue that was developed basically relates particularly to the first objective, that of capturing and analyzing knowledge about water operator partnerships. The idea of the special issue was basically that if you look at a lot of the literature that is out there on water operator partnerships, a lot of it is quite promotional in nature. So you have a model, the water operator partnership model, and a lot of the documents that exist are case studies of successful partnerships, promoting water operator partnerships, being very, very relatively positive. And what we try to do with this special issue is to have a bit of more of a critical, yet also constructive approach to water operator partnerships, to analyze how do these partnerships work, how do they function, and what are the challenges in developing these partnerships. And the idea is that a bit more critical, but also constructive look at such partnerships will also allow for these partnerships to develop more effectively in the future. So in September 2022, more than 3 years ago, we started with a call for papers. One of the things that we try to do with this special issue is that the articles would be developed by both practitioners supported by academics. But the idea was that it was the practitioners who would be the main authors of the articles in the special issue. So it took us 3 years to get the special issue finished. But in the end, we have approximately 9 at the moment articles as part of the special issue. which are all open access and online, can be downloaded by anyone. I will not go into detail about the various articles, apart from mentioning that we have a number of the authors here today who are part of the panel. What I'm going to do now is just sort of give a reflection about what came out of the special issue and what came out of the different articles. And one of the things that is important in this context is to sort of look, to start with a definition of water-operator partnerships and what water-operator partnerships are. So officially, the definition is that it's a not-for-profit peer support exchange between two or more water or sanitation operators with the objective of strengthening their capacity and sustainably improve performance for all. And the combination of these defining elements make water operator partnerships a rather challenging model. First, because the traditional mechanisms of partnership accountability are not present in a water operator partnership. So there are no contracts or hard contracts that allow partners to hold each other accountable. It's solidarity based. So, and then the question is, of course, how does accountability occur within a solidarity based partnership? What does that look like? Another challenge with water operator partnership is that it's on the one hand focused on capacity development and on the other hand on performance. And the link between capacity and increased capacity and performance is not always very easy to make. And that is also a challenge for water operator partnerships. Overall, the different articles sort of highlight different dimensions of finding a balance in a water operator partnership. And I will try to explain what that balance is all about. The first balance that most water operator partnerships need to find revolves around results that need to be achieved, capacity that needs to be developed, and trust between the partners. WOPs are instruments of capacity development, but if there are no visible results being produced relatively quickly, then the water operator partnership starts to lose support from management. So you need to find a balance between focusing on capacity development and producing visible results that create trust, and that trust, that momentum, then again stimulates or supports better results and also supports capacity development in the partnership. Yeah, so within a water operator partnership, there's this delicate balance between focusing on capacity development, but showing results, visible results in a relatively short amount of time, because most water operator partnerships are usually 2-3 years maybe. So you need to really develop visible results in a very short amount of time in order to create trust, momentum, in order to then again strengthen capacity and ultimately the performance of the partnership. A second balance is about the actors involved. So every water operator partnership will usually have a donor that funds the partnership and the activities of the partnership. There's going to be a supporting utility or a mentor utility, as it used to be called. And there is a resident utility, or the mentee utility, as it used to be called. And these actors do not always have the same interests in a water operator partnership. So donors, particularly with the emphasis currently on the sustainable development goals, donors often have a very strong emphasis on service expansion. Resident utilities often also have a very strong focus on non-revenue water, on operation and maintenance of the existing system. So they might have different priorities on which they want to focus. The supporting utility, most supporting utilities also use water operator partnership as a tool for human resources development, as a way of giving the organization, the water utility, sort of an international profile to make it interesting for young staff to come and join the water utility. So different actors have different interests, and within the partnership you need to sort of find this balance between the different actors and their interests. So you need to find a common ground. The third balance that needs to be found within these water operator partnerships is about the skill set that is necessary. The idea behind the water operator partnership is that you have two utilities, and the core strength of a utility lies in its understanding of operations. So the operations and utility operations are sort of the core strength of the utility. But for a water operator partnership, because of its emphasis on capacity development, you also need to be able to transfer knowledge, transfer experience to the other organization. And that means that you also need didactical skills. You need the skills to develop the capacity of other people, which is a bit different than the skill of utility operations. Most water operator partnerships also are funded by donors, and that means that in order to access funding from these donors, you also need to be able to maneuver the landscape of the international development community. You need to be able to highlight the right words, the right themes in order to access funding for the water operator partnership. And this also means that you need to find a balance. Yeah? Focusing only on utility operations means that it's unlikely that you will find the funding. It means that you are perhaps limited in the capacity that you can develop because the knowledge transfer is going to be limited. If you go too much towards capacity development, it means that you sort of start to become a training organization rather than a utility, which is the original idea behind the water operator partnership. And these different balances are also connected. So focusing on capacity development also means that you need to have certain skills. It also links to the interests of the different actors involved. Yeah, so the different balances are all interconnected. And the water operator partnership is sort of in the middle, trying to find the balance between these different elements. What makes it even more complicated is that the water operator partnership also occurs within a particular context. You have a political and institutional environment, a biophysical environment, there is an economic environment, and of course you have civil society. And the water operator partnership operates within this environment. And this environment is very dynamic. So with climate change, increasing pollution of water resources, the new pollutants, which are now becoming more and more challenging to deal with, influence what water utilities need to focus on, what they need to deal with. You have political changes, the interests of donors is changing, resident and supporting utilities change. So you have different changes in the institutional setting, in the environment in which the water operator partnership operates, and the water operator partnership also needs to respond to those changes. And what that means is that this balance that needs to be found within a water operator partnership, look at these different elements, it's dynamic. So it's a continuous search for this balance. It's not a question of finding a balance and then the partnership simply runs successfully to its end. Rather, this balance continuously needs to be found and needs to be revisited and reinterpreted and redeveloped. So partnering within these water operator partnerships, it's a continuous process and it demands a degree of flexibility from the partners involved. This one?
Thanks a lot, class. So now we'd like to bring up a panel of both co-authors or practitioners of WOPs to speak a little bit about their work and how they feel about these balances. So if I could call up, first of all, Mireia Tusos. From FE in the Netherlands, and Amer Haroun from Miahuna in Jordan, in Amman, Jordan. Welcome. Come onto the stage. And I'm sorry about the spelling of your name, Ardian. That Ardian. Ardian Wiedelaksono. Thank you. From Perumda Minum Tirata Murel in Semarang, Indonesia. And then we have Claudia Wendland from Hamburgwasser. Thanks for joining us on the stage. So, and we hope to make this interactive. I think several others in the audience may have contributed to writing of articles. So please think about the questions also and feel free to chip in. Yes, I'd first like to look at this first balance, and the first balance being the one around results, capacity, and trust. And let's start with you, Claudia. Can you tell us a little bit about the article that you co-wrote for the journal? I know it's looking at this really very much directly at this balance between tangible results and so on. Tell us how that, in briefly, what the storyline is.
It has to be green, okay. I'm Claudia Wendland from Hamburgwasser. Hamburgwasser is the big water company in Germany, the second biggest, and we have quite some experiences already with international project and also with Water Operators Partnership. And we wanted to, we used the opportunity with this call for this IWA journal to share our approach that we already applied quite some time, because we thought that it's a very good approach to get really good results in terms of partnering with another utility. So I just share with you some of the aspects. Please read also our article. And thanks also to Klaas for supporting us during writing the article. This was quite a tough job. And so the example is from Jordan and Tanzania explicitly. So what we experience is that many aspects were already mentioned by Klaas. What we experience is so there are a few key aspects. So in the beginning, usually you don't know the partner very well. So and it's also very challenging to get the real problems they have and the real problems we can tackle also in the frame of the Water Operators Partnership. And because normally when you go to an operator and you ask them what kind of problems you have, what issues you have, then usually they start to say everything is fine. Of course, we deliver high quality water, and they have, of course, officially no problems, and all works fine. So it really needs a lot of trust to come up with really the issues you want to work on, and that are also not too ambitious. Sometimes also then in the first discussions, many topics show up, and you cannot tackle all the topics because you cannot be too ambitious also in the project. So what is very important, one aspect is to have very early stage a fact-finding mission, to be on site, on the spot, and go together with the resident utility and to go and to visit the plants and to look at the O&M and really to see on an eye level to talk to each other so that you understand better the settings, the frame conditions, and what you really can work on. So this is one aspect, to have really an early in-person meeting. And then throughout the project also to meet on a regular basis in person. And if you already know each other, then you can also meet on a regular basis in online meetings. So that works pretty well according to our experiences. And then another aspect which we realize is pretty successful is the focus on a topic which is really crucial for many water utilities, and that is optimizing the water treatment. So looking into the water treatment plants, because that is if the utilities are operating own water treatment plants, because that is at their core of their business. If you can optimize something, you immediately can save some running costs, you can improve the water quality, and so that it leads to immediate, quick results, which is also then increasing the trust. So maybe that, to have it short, the two aspects that are further elaborated in our paper. So thank you.
Thanks a lot, Claudia, and I think it's really interesting because it's based on a lot of experience and this recognition that trust is essential, and that certain things can work. So it's actually also very pragmatic, right? You're actually proposing almost like an approach for gaining trust by aiming for quick wins at the beginning. Which is quite interesting. And I think Ardian, if we could move to you, because I think your story about non-revenue water is not so dissimilar. Your utility has been a mentor, right, or mentee exclusively, right, in WOPs, right? And the paper that you co-wrote for the special issue focuses at how you can reduce NRW quite significantly, right, in a short period. So, I mean, without focusing too much on the technical aspects of how you did that, what did this mean for the partnership and how it worked?
Yeah, thank you, Julie, for the question. So first of all, allow me to introduce myself. So my name is Ardian, and I am from PDAM Kota Semarang, or Semarang City Water Utility in Indonesia. And currently, we, PDAM Semarang, is having a water operator partnership with 5 Dutch water operators within the Waterworks program. And during this article we wrote together is the project is based on the project that we do on the 2022. So at the time we doing the NRW project, and during this research, it's also thankful to Klaas and Miraya for supporting this writing of the article, because we would like in this article we would like to share that, because usually NRW is general topics and sometimes it's require big investment. And in this article, we want to show that an easy or low-hanging fruit in reducing NRW is also possible. So that's what we want to show in this article. And yeah, the reason why NRW is one of the topic in Semarang is because in Semarang the NRW is high, and therefore one of the priorities in our water operator partnership is to reduce the non-revenue water. But to achieve that, you need a buy-in, basically not only from the management, but also from the bottom or the grass level, to let them know that WOPs is able to accelerate the adoption of new working process to be able to reduce the non-revenue water significantly. And for us to do so is focusing on the projects that can show a tangible result. So instead of using utility or company benchmarking numbers, we focus on doing intervention in the one water supply zone. Therefore, intervention can also be really seen by the one who doing it, because the one who doing it is also the technical team in the field, and they also need to be shown that what they do is really important. Otherwise, they will always thinking, so what does the Dutch people coming here to Semarang and giving things that probably will maybe not giving advantage or benefit to us. And that kind of mindset, like what Klaas already mentioned, there's stakes that different from the donors or the mentor and from the mentee. And from mentee is important to show the result that doing WOPs is beneficial to the water utility. So that's why we focus on doing in the focus one water supply zones, and with a low investment. So at that time we only use an operational approach where we do a leak detection team, and at that time with 5 months we be able to reduce the non-revenue water from 39% to 26% in one supply zones. Yeah, but at that time it was quite good things, because also the short-term expert giving a lot of knowledge. So they come in, visit to our place, they give a training to our team, and then we also keep reporting to them. And also that's where the local staff involvement within the WOP is also important, because they are the connecting bridge between the mentor and the mentee utilities. So I think that's answered the question, Julie.
Yeah, super.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, really, really interesting story. Yeah. So, I mean, I think, you know, clearly, you know, that what I'm taking also is that, you know, you build the trust in the at the beginning, and then, you know, it allows you to do things that are maybe less flashy later on, right? Like, so if things, you know, if then you move into things that are a little more kind of like, without quick results, then you have the buy-in, the relationships have developed already, and you're seeing how things can go. Before we go on to sort of developing that a little further, are there any experiences from the room, like in terms of WOP, practitioners' experience in developing trust, reluctance at first, any sort of techniques that worked in trying to build, build that relationship so that things could be carried forward? Maybe our panelists also have other experiences on this one. Yes, in the back of the room.
Yes, thank you. My name is Horace Mohamia from Uganda, Ministry of Water and Environment. Yes, I'm very impressed with the relationship between the trust, capacity, and results. And I think it's very evident, particularly for us. We've been in a water operator partnership under the phase 1 with VEI, National Water, and also with the ministry based in Southwestern Umbrella. Yeah, and I think I was just thinking through back to how we moved along the years, and the moment we sort of established the bond of trust, then things became much faster. Yeah, it was easier to be more innovative and creative, and also have uptake of different ideas, and also be able to look through the challenges and look at them with the mind of getting solutions, not with the mind of who has brought the challenge, and all that. I really think it's centered on the trust. Yeah, so it's very, very important beyond the working, streamlining the working processes, but also ensure that we are building that the platform of trust amongst the different partners within the individual organizations, but then also across the organizations as the partners within the WOPs. Yes, thank you.
Thanks a lot. So I'm sorry. Yeah. What? Another? Yeah, oh, please. No, it's better this way, because then the people online
Thank you.
The crowds of people online are waiting to hear your question.
Thank you, Julie. So from our experience as well, I can say drinking water over wastewater would open more doors for you, definitely. And I'm very interested to read your article about non-revenue water, because usually it's a business as usual to do DMAs and focus on one pilot zone. But in order to achieve all of that, you need a heck of a lot of data, especially for from GIS, from your network. So within, like you said, you started 2022, right? Within 3 years, you achieved that. Within 5 months, actually. Yeah, so I'm really interested to hear about the process that you had. And if I may ask also, it's not only my comment, I wanted to ask, what was the position of the top management at your company? Thank you.
So may I answer also?
Of course.
Yeah. So Mr. Who? Mr. Karam, yeah. Thank you for the question. Yeah, it's true. in here, in this article, we don't talk about a lot of technical things, but there's a lot of technical things that happen in the background. Like, for example, yeah, true, you need the GIS. So at this project started, the GIS already digitized. So we know where's the pipeline, where's the accessories. It's already digitally mapped, so it's easy for doing this project. And then the second one, we also do it with the data lockers. And for this data lockers, it's also the help from the FI, from Waterworks. They also help us in procuring the data lockers to enable us to doing the technical terms is active leakage control, where you look at the leak, look at the indication of the leak, and then do the leak detection in that area, and then repair that leak, and then you can also see the result directly. And with this kind of quick cycle, you can really see the result of your intervention. So therefore, the people can see that what they do is really happening, it really works, and that's what motivates them to really do the project. And yes, it's actually sound fast, yeah, from 39% to 26, but it's really happened with only in the innovation of the operational operational approach. So we do leak detection. That's also where FI come in also. So they procure us leak detection devices to help us in make a dedicated leak detection team. That until now it still happen. But in terms of sustainability, during this project that we wrote, it's end in 26%. But after that, the supply zone have changes because of the new areas. So it's changed also in the number of customers, number of area that supplied by this, and then in the production side, some of the well, because this one is from the deep wells, is also shut down, and then there's another switching. So now it's stable in 30%. Yeah, but still, it's still quite an achievement. And also what we do in PDM Semarang, so the project approach is do it based on the water supply zone, and we try to prioritize it with the one that having a lot of financial benefit. So therefore, we can refinancing again to do more NRW reduction project, because that's important in Semarang. The NRW level is very high. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was on already. Yeah, also for Etiquini, we had also the water distribution as one of our components, but we also decided we want to focus on the bulk water supply of the Western Aqueduct, which is a bulk water transport line, and it's not a typical distribution zone. So in the beginning, that's about results, capacity, trust. The first phase, the focus was on getting a hydraulic model of this aqueduct, which is only one main trunk line, but it's a very special one because it's gravity supply. It's almost 1.5 meter in diameter, and it's supposed to supply 21 primary reservoirs. And what in fact was needed is the equal distribution of the limited supply, because supply was bigger, demand was bigger than the supply. And we spent 1 year to try to make a hydraulic model, but you make a model of a pipeline that is emptying and filling because it's not filled with water. So it was not a wise decision to try to make the model at this stage, although Etiquini is also now thinking about creating digital twins, and it sounds beautiful, but they were in fact destroying their own system. There was an investment of several 20, 30, 50 million euros in a new transport system built in 2017, and they had huge operational problems with water hammer. They had damages at brake pressure tanks. And I came in, and then we changed it. We changed the focus on trying to optimize the operational manual. How do they operate this system? And it was all manually operated. People were throttling valves at lower reservoirs so that water could enter the higher reservoirs. It was completely uncontrolled. And jointly, we developed ideas. So even traditionally from South Africa, they had good experience with orifice plates, so kind of a throttling devices in front of lower reservoirs. But if your pressure is going up and down all the time, they were even closing down main valves 1.5 meter within 2 minutes, just and the whole pipeline to the brake pressure tank empty. So it's really a disaster. And now the focus is on, the only solution is to have flow control valves, telemetry at each primary reservoir at the entrance, and connect that to a SCADA and a central control room. And we jointly found out, okay, that is the solution, the only solution. They are investing so much money, but I forget to, it was only focusing on the main trunk line and the offtakes, but they were not thinking about the inlet of all these reservoirs, where they installed very cheap flow meters. They were all vandalized, broken, nothing is functioning. So this is what we found out together, and we are now trying to figure out a solution, and that was a good result, but was not what was initially planned to be done. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Let's move on to the a little bit to the next sort of triangle here. If I could sort of, migrate your attention to this green triangle, where we're looking at the different interests between donors, the supporting or mentor utility, and resident or mentee utility, and how they're working together. Of course, everybody wants performance improvement, but the ideas about what performance improvement may be different. Of course, donors are always really interested in hard changes, whereas the utilities are more focused on the operations and maintenance. And of course, then there's other mentor kind of interests about human resource development, corporate social responsibility, and these kinds of things. These interests are very different. Are they incompatible? Are they at odds with one another? How are they balanced? So maybe we can start off with Mireia. You co-authored a paper around accountability for solidarity. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Hello. My name is Mireia Tutusaus, and I work for VEI, Dutch Water Operators, and I also am a research affiliate at IHE Delft, so that's why the paper that we have co-authored is work of an MSc student of IHE who was captivated by WOPs, and he went to one of our cases in Malawi, and it was more of an exploratory kind of research. When he left, he wanted to understand what is WOP, how it works, who is involved, who gets involved, how do they talk to each other, and also slightly how they build trust. I invite you all to read the article, obviously, but I think just to, in a nutshell, it's of course part of these triangles that we have further developed in the editorial, but I think the article of Sayib and his thesis shows how complex actually a WOP is when you go into the nitty-gritties of actually it's people that are working with people, and how this accountability works, and that WOPs are promoted as peer-to-peer, and then a peer being accountable to the other peer, and back and forth as if they were alone in the room. And I think that the research of Sayib, what actually nicely brought into light, is how these peer-to-peers are actually, they owe themselves to a bigger picture, and sometimes that might be at odds with each other at a bigger scale.
Recording in progress.
Oh. Nice. Just how you should start now.
You wanted to start at the end.
No. So I think that's what it shows. So basically,
Recording
what I
stopped.
I was not good enough.
Recording in progress.
Okay. Again, yeah. Oh, where did I? No. What was I saying? I forgot. I forgot, actually. What was I saying? No, I think what I wanted to say is two things. One is that if you read the article, but I think that they're relevant for the discussion today, one is being knowledgeable and being aware that peer-to-peer, it's the essence of a WOP, but they owe themselves also, like VEI being a mentor, but we have a lot of restrictions from our shareholders and other political issues, and our partners, beneficiary partners, they owe themselves to their own board of directors and to their own Ministry of Water Resources and Environment and whatnot. And that's much more complex than whatever you want to achieve in one specific project in 3 years. And I think that's important to acknowledge that that's a reality in where we work. And I think the second one is also that a WOP is so unique. And of course, we sign partnership agreements with each other and we claim to be accountable to each other. But in real life, it's really hard to capture the essence of a WOP in a partnership agreement. You can't. And you cannot really always show the results that you want to you cannot discuss issues of budget, you cannot discuss issues of staffing openly as you would want to. Not peer-to-peer, but to the people that you owe yourself to outside of that room. So yeah, that's a little bit what it's in the article.
Yeah.
Read it, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, only when it's recorded. Otherwise, I'm not going to read it. That's a little bit what it's in the... yeah, and what I wanted to add also for the trust, I think, and Horace already mentioned it, but I think that trust in a WOP, you can work on a trust, but it's also trust runs, and I think it was also aiming to your question, like, did you have the encouragement or the endorsement of your senior management? Because I think trust runs at a WOP specifically. It's very important to acknowledge that it runs at very different levels. It's not just I have a good working relationship with Horace and we work very well, but my boss and his boss also need to trust each other. And the Ministry of Environment of Uganda and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Netherlands also need to kind of have a relationship. And all these complexities do play a role at the end of the day.
Yeah, that makes us really want to read the article. And by the way, I should mention that the articles that are being discussed, they have been published, and what hasn't been sort of published in one unique form yet is the compiled special issue, and that will be ready soon. And then we'll have a full WOP journal that we can share in the IWA WASH Dev journal. Yes.
I can hear you, unless you are recording. No, you can talk. I can hear you.
Okay, so it sounds to me that each WOP is like a person. So it's unique because of various, frame conditions, sector, people, governance, blah, blah, blah. So basically, but if you compare different WOPs, can you derive a pattern, like what is similar to most of them? Like, do something which has an impact at an early stage so that works in everyone, or is it so unique that you can't really, because we are evaluating actually at the moment the program of GIZ. Yeah. So we have 28 WOPs. So I wonder whether you could really develop a pattern, or they are so unique that they are really like persons. So you can't really compare them.
Well, I think that we are unique as in your WOPs. Each WOP is unique in itself. Like we are people, we are unique in ourselves. But I think that there's also some common traits among us. And without entering too much into cliches, but I think that there's time. Time is sometimes time is of the essence, and that's why achieving results early on is really important. Sometimes that. To be introduced by a third party that is also already a trusted party is also very important, and I think so maybe WaterAid can speak to that. I think that also plays a big role. I think that WOPs with the support of senior management on all sides is really important. That you are allowed to travel to Indonesia, but Indonesia is also allowed to allocate people to the project and the results. I think it's also important. And I think also allocating some funds for investments is of crucial importance, because of course you can learn and you can create the bonds, but I think part of achieving the results also require a little bit of investment, not just in time and knowledge and people, but also in just getting things.
See things,
yeah, you have to show. Yeah, that would be my take, but maybe my colleagues, yes.
From what Miraya said, everything what Miraya said is really true, and it's like a person, finding the partner. Yeah, so every situation is unique, and from the top management is important because yeah, basically if the top management is not approved, then from the bottom is will be not also not running. But also buy-in the bottom is also important because WOP is peer-to-peer. So basically there's a process of learning, and the one that also will get the benefit or learn the things is not only from the top but also from the bottom. So therefore, again, like the topic what's balance, so not only from the top is very important, like also true, but then from the bottom, like for example having local champion also in the bottom is also important because with that is also make an awareness building to the people at the grassroots. So I think like that, if I can add. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot and for the answers, and thanks a lot for the question also, because I think this is what I mean at GWOP, this is what interests us as well, right? There's a recognition from what your class is saying that there's always this balance that you have to walk, and it's ongoing, and you can't just set it up and fix it once and for all. But there are some things you can try to like lock in, set things up. How can you frame things such that they're most likely to deliver, to develop the trust that you need going forward, to give the kinds of, to monitor and show the kinds of results that you need to keep the momentum as you proceed. I wonder, Amer, can I ask you a question about this one, about this, how do you see the balance yourself between capacity development and tangible results? Is this something that this, or I could go straight to the other question here. I was gonna wing it a bit.
Okay.
So in your WOP with Hamburg, Wasser, the two parties obviously have different interests. Okay, do you see this as a tension that needs to be managed? Is this a tension? Is this a conflict, or is this something that is compatible, productive?
Yeah, let's begin with the action now. First of all, my name is Amir Haroun. I'm working with the Jordan Walker Company. Jordan Walker Company is responsible for providing water and wastewater for over 6.5 million. So working with the water sector is a very demanding sector, very hard-working sector, very stressful sector. Also in Hamburg Vaza, they're working the same, and they are very stressed. So when you are, no? Sure? Yeah.
You're being recorded.
So, I'm not we're talking about the complexity, the complex of the WOP. If someone from out of this room hear you that the WOP is complex and he will not do a WOP anymore. From my point of view, if the company have a plan and have a needs and have well-known needs, and also are try to building trust and have to show the quick wins. But the main crucial point that the WOP is that one team aiming for one goal. If they are aiming or are building this issue, there will always be, there's no complex in the WOP. And also, I wanted to tell you a story. It's a dream in 2017 for my lab. I'm a lab manager. I have a wish list. I gather my team. I have a wish list. What do you want to do to improve? One is the item was lab twinning. It was a dream, but now it's real. So if you have your own needs, your own dreams, and how to improve, you will be unstressed, and you always have a joy for achievement. Yeah. And I will repeat my quote. If you are working as one team, aiming for one goal, there's no stress between the two partners. Thank you.
I like it. I like that a lot. It's a great story, and it reminds me, like I was hoping there's no new whoppers in the room, because it's like when before you have a kid, like they always say, like if you actually knew what it was like, you would never do it, because it's complex and whatever. But in the end, it's worth it, right? You know, these things are really worth it. But the complexity can be a turnoff when you tell people about it. So. Are there any reactions to that? Anyone would like to say? What I think is also interesting about that is this really idea that if the mentee knows what it wants, then it's a really, I mean, that, and that's what that's what in the end what it should all really be about. I mean, I think is connecting with a drive that exists within the resident utility and catalyzing that and moving that forward. So that's, I think, a really important insight here in terms of balancing, because in the end, if that's right, then the rest will be achieved, right? Like the motivation will be there. I mean, it's the most critical perhaps of the interests to respond to. Okay, so before I'm lost here on my questions. Any questions from the audience at this point? No? Okay. I think this other about sorry about this. This questions about social responsibility, and I think getting also to this question of recognizing that there are different objectives. What do you think that this means for how you manage, monitor, communicate about your WOPs? Do you need to be attentive to the different interests at all times? Do any of you have thoughts about how you're managing actually to balance those different interests, the different
maybe also follow up to what Amr was saying. It refers to this green with the donor, with this green balancing. So because what Amr was explaining was really what we also try always to do, this demand-driven work and demand-driven. And this is not just a phrase. So we really try to work like this. And in Jordan, for example, it worked pretty well because they had some dreams. And then we were discussing about it. And of course, we need also the capacity, of course, to fit. Yeah, that is also, this needs also this match. We cannot be over-ambitious. We have also to see that it matches. And sometimes that does not fit very well to the donor's needs. So this is sometimes challenging. Then we have the demand of the resident partner, and we also like to address it. And but maybe it happens that it does not fit to what the donor has in its portfolio or whatever. And that is a challenge, really. So it's sometimes difficult to balance.
Does anyone else have any comments on that, or any experience also in trying to, like, let's say, calm down the donors, demand for figures, like they want taps and toilets and wanting to see this kind of concrete work, when you're like, we're looking at capacity development here. It doesn't materialize overnight. How are you managing that tension? We have a mic here in the middle of the room. Yeah, stick up your hand so he can see who you are. Thanks.
Did it work? Oh, yeah. I really recognize the green triangle for sure. Like we've been working on one project for many years, and we finally finalize it. We invite the donor for like a meeting to present what we did, and the first thing they said, like, it's such a shame that we can't see what you did because it was under the ground. It was sewage. So we fixed all the piping, but we did a lot of more than that, like operation and maintenance. And then the first thing they said, like, we can't see it. And then like we really first disappointed. And then the second time we came around, we made like a big print of all the facts and figures that we actually did and how much the work it cost. Because you really have to show your donor, even though we and also our partner utility knew what was happening, the donor also needs to see it. in real time, but that was a bit of a lesson learned from our side to present what you did actually.
Yeah, very literally, it's underground, like it's out of sight and out of mind. And so, yeah, it's not the most rewarding of things to work on. So it's maybe why sanitation always, gets ignored. Also, great story. Any other comments or anecdotes like that about pleasing the donor or helping them understand the value?
I know one comment on the WOP, I think with Miyahuna was in the beginning, there were three main topics, wastewater, water quality, and also the non-revenue water. But jointly it was decided, or I don't know if it was from Miyahuna, that there was already so much help coming from USAID, there was another parallel program, that they skipped a part of the budget, and that was the reason that we had different WOPs in Tanzania now, because we had budget left. So I think it was also very wise recognition to see, okay, that we addressed some topics like non-revenue water. And I think, especially in Jordan, they are so overwhelmed with donors and projects. And I've been working in Urbit myself, and now I see also KfW is financing another performance-based water loss reduction project for Mafraq with Yamuk Water Company, the same company WaterNet is working with, and there is a huge cultural issue with it. People are not motivated. There is a challenge between the Yamuk Water Company and the Watch. They are not communicating, so it's very difficult as partner operator, to really understand what's really happening in Jordan and to act accordingly. I think also at the time we were doing our project, KfW was trying to synchronize activities, but it didn't really succeed. So we eventually also were in a project that was not successful. So we had an issue and we didn't get paid. So it was really a disaster for us as a consultancy company. And all these cultural things that play in Jordan, is only one watch. There are 3 utilities. I think Miaouna is doing very well, and Aqaba as well. And Yamuk is a little bit is the worst pupil in the class, but still, it seems that there are so many donors. They only want to give, and it's good to also say, no, we do it as a utility. We take what we need from these WOPs. So this is a comment.
Thanks. Amer, any comments on reflections on that? No. Yeah.
The main point, I have a request for you all. Please forget about mentor, mentee. We are all one team. It's not mentor and mentee. It's not your, yes. We are always one team looking for one objective. If we do this, in my opinion, we will have a quick wins. We will reduce the stress. We will, persuade the decision maker that it is, and the donors that it's effective. Thank you.
Thanks. Let's take, right, go ahead.
No, maybe then building on the last comment by Amer and whether we call it supporting or resident utility. But my question is, from the research that was done as part of this paper, how much have the so-called supporting utilities taken the lessons on board? I don't know, maybe Claudia from Hamburg Wasser, from your experience in Jordan, what have you brought back to Germany, for example? What came out of the research on that? So that indeed what Amer is saying, that the supporting utility becomes a resident and vice versa.
Yeah, so indeed, Amna is right. So we were not using really the mentor and mentee terminology in the project. And what we are benefiting from, so that is, I guess, the question you had. It's not only, of course, opening perspectives for us, so what everybody is saying, but it's especially also some know-how. If I refer again to water treatment, because it was also one major work package we had. So in terms of water treatment, we have one colleague who here also from water treatment, a young colleague. So they are on our side also learning a lot, because the water situation in Jordan is of course very different, and they use surface water there, so which is very different than what we have treating groundwater. And so I think there's a lot of that, especially our young professionals can also learn a lot. And also, I mean, they learn from each other, just in the teams, as Amar said. So it's also, maybe that's also an aspect in addition to what is sometimes challenging, to find the right peer teams, peer-to-peer teams, because sometimes the companies are very big. I mean, there are thousands of staff, and sometimes it takes some time really to identify who's the right person, who is the right peer colleague. And sometimes in the first run, we identify not really the right ones, and so it changed also. So that sometimes takes also some time. It's really important.
Claudia, that's great, because it brings us to our final triangle, which is about the different skill sets that are involved in WOPs. So, I mean, I'm sorry, you had another question related to that. Go ahead, please.
Misuse this fora to Amar, because I've worked a lot in Jordan for 15 years, and I'm a water engineer since 1993, working quite all over the world. You know, because we're doing this evaluation, one important, very interesting question also for BMZ, for the ministry is, because Miahuna knows both. You know, standard accompanying measures done by consultants, either an engineering consulting teaming up with Hamburg Wasser or Gelsenwasser or Berlin Wasser, or an institutional consultant, so based on contracts, terms of reference, like more a contract-driven assistance. But it does similar things, it makes an institutional analysis, a training need, gap analysis, whatever. So and if so, is this different to an operator partnership? Is there any major difference, and what is the difference? Because this is quite a key question, or is it similar? And in the end of the day, it's between people. So did you find a difference between a standard consultancy, accompanying measure from JICA, KfW, World Bank, or whatever, and an operator partnership?
Be sure, and all the donors sure, that Miahuna is not used the donors to repeat our work, or to have repeated work like the building capacity or the institutional work. The WOP is different, because we are concentrating on special things. In lab package, we are concentrating, the main subject that we don't have a benchmark to value our work. We are, as we have the ISO 17025. We need always a continual improvement, but we don't have any measure that we say that we are good, or we want to be more and more and more. In the WOP, we found the benchmark that we can do more or can do less, or to modify our procedures. But in the WOP, we found different things than the other projects, like the institutional works or the other donors. The work here is just a consultancy. It's peer-to-peer work. I have a problem, I can discuss with you. You can have a solution. There is no business here. There's no business. There's always, he wants to give me an information, and I'm going to give him an information. It's an exchange with no interest here. The interest is only to achieve the goal that we want. So there's no redundancy in our work. The WOP is different. It's effective for me and also for the other packages in Miahuna, because if it's not effective, why we are traveling from phase 1 to phase 2? In phase 2, we are concentrating on special issues, not as phase 1, because it was effective and we want to do more. I think I answered your question. Thank you.
May I So I worked in both sectors, in the consultancy projects and also in the WOP concept, let's say. One major difference is the flexibility that the WOPs have in their work. So thankfully, our donor, in this case with Miyahun at the GIZ, are very keen on this approach of demand-driven WOPs. So we, as Kies already told you, we started with a component of non-revenue water, but then it has been changed because there was a salad of cooks and of other donors playing around as well. So we have this flexibility to change the approach or the areas of cooperation according to the actual demand of the utility or the partner utility. In consultancy projects, you have your terms of reference, you have your contract. It's very difficult to change that, even if the demand changed. And we experienced that in another project, also in Jordan, where we deviated actually from the contract, but on our own. And this came as like with a high price. So in this case, yes, I think they are different, definitely. Moreover, as Amer also highlighted, it's not profit driven. We are not interested in making money per se in this approach. We are there to share our knowledge, to learn from our partner. And one major aspect within all of this is understanding the culture of the partner, which plays a major role, as we witnessed in our WOPs at least. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for those elaborations. Really, really useful. Yeah, great. Should we attack the final triangle briefly before we begin to hear from our commentators? Let's go to this question around skill sets then. You know, the value, you know, the kind of added value of a WOP is this peer-to-peer, this eye-level kind of exchange between the parties. That's kind of what's his main selling point in a way. And yet there are other skill sets that kind of need to come into play. There's also you know, the need to have, you know, be able to teach, you know, someone else. You know, just because you know you do something really well, you're a good performing utility, doesn't mean you're necessarily going to be able to be communicating this or working with others to solve their problems, help them solve their problems, co-create. Pedagogical skills are also part of it. And then there's also, as Klaas highlighted, you know, this whole thing, then you're working in the international development realm. And so there's, you know, there's things around fundraising and speaking the parlance of donors and going to international congresses and things like that. So, you know, there's a whole different set of skills that it brings you into. And I guess, you know, the question around this is, are these things at odds? How do you balance this need for these different skill sets and then with this, you know, with this value of the peer-to-peer? So, you know, maybe I can ask Ardian, in your experience, you know, are good utilities, you know, strong utilities necessarily good teachers? Is peer support a kind of a natural thing to do, or is it?
Yeah. So the question is what's the skill set that is important?
Yeah.
Yeah. From the mentor, yeah.
No, I mean from your point of view. I mean, is it natural for? I mean, you've been partnered with you know, FAE exclusively. Have you worked with other operators? No. So you understand that there's you know, they maybe have good examples and performance and knowledge to offer, but not necessarily. They're not necessarily teachers, you know. So are these things at odds? Do you think you need to be a good teacher to be a good WOP, or you just need to be a good performing utility?
Yeah, I think one of the most important in the WOPs, since it's a peer-to-peer, is to be able to interact with the peer between the mentor and the mentee. So teaching skill is important because, like in my paper, it's also mentioned that the FI, so the short-term expert from FI, is giving us a training to the mentee, and to be able have an interaction, to have a training, you need to have somebody to be able to train, and somebody that also willing to learning new things. So not only teaching skill, but also interaction skill is also important to be able to connect with the team members in the PDM is important. Like in here we have Pak Ivar. Ivar is also the short-term expert from FAI to Indonesia, Semarang, and he also have a good interaction with the people in PDM Semarang. So therefore, it's easy to connect, and we are happy to have him as a short-term expert. And that kind of thing is what I think make a WOP successful, because here we are the same person that work in the water utility, and being able to interact with each other is important to make sure the WOP is success.
Great. Yeah. So I mean, a lot of more social skills also, that in addition to the technical skills that are needed. What about you, Mireia? You are working for a very active mentor organization, and when you're seeking to like engage new staff in these partnerships, what kind of skill sets are you looking for? You're drawing from a wide set, so you have maybe more staff to draw from than most utilities. But what are you looking for in that? Just those who are really good at their day-to-day utility job, or do they have other skills?
Yeah, so we draw. I think I'm not very good with figures, but I think more than 3,000 people, 300 unique new people going on the first time abroad. So it's true. I think that the leading question is always: is this the right person with the right technical skills, and do they really have something to offer? I think that's our question number one, because I think that also that's what is expected from us to deliver at that level. But we do speak to each and every one of them, and also the project managers, and also the resident utility speaks to these experts before they travel, also to just check, is this really the right person? Is this really going to work? Because I think Ardi already mentions it's not just it's important. The technical skills are number one, and I think that's what we care about. But you need to have a little bit of self-awareness to begin with, and awareness of the partner, and what's okay, what's not okay, how to bring a message across, how to relate to the project, what's the wish list, what's the dream of the partner. I think that there's a lot of emotion and a lot of soft skills that are extremely important. Yeah.
Thanks. And Amer, when in your like being involved in WOPs, has it kind of like dragged you into a world of donor interactions and this kind of things that you weren't doing before? And do you consider that to be a complement to your work, something that strengthens it, or is it a distraction from your daily work?
No, it's. I think it's from our side. It's simple. We adopt all of the partnership activities in our work schedule. It's been as our work.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Simple.
That's beautiful. That is the dream. That is as a GWAPA, that's what we like to hear. That it's exactly like that. It's one and the same. You are a team.
Yes.
There's no distinction. That's really great.
Yeah.
But how do you? Okay. Let's talk more about that later outside.
Yes.
But we need to wrap up this session now. We only have a few minutes left, and I want to see you take any further final questions or comments. I'm gonna go for a balance. So let me go over to Steph. Were there any other Steph? Yeah.
Good afternoon. My name is Steph Smith. I work with IRC. My question is, if you don't find some of the skills, whether technical or soft skills, within that triangle, how do you then bring in others? I can imagine in some cases you may want to bring in the regulator to address issues of tariff regulation. Or when do you bring in consultants, what the other gentleman was referring to? And because then you step outside the basic concept of a WOP, and then it's no longer peer-to-peer, but you bring in third parties. And what in Mireia or one of the other members, how do you bring that in, and does that then change this balance?
Okay, so allow me to answer. Yeah, in Indonesia, sometimes that happen. Actually, So especially for like technology based, usually like the SCADA operational control center we also develop in Semarang. Usually there's a skill gap in here because it's very specific. Like in here, you use some kind of technology PLC. Every brand have different program, so therefore sometimes it's not compatible with what we have in Semarang. And that's for SCADA. And sometimes also the things that also related to stakeholder is also sometimes having experience from consultant that having understand more local context also important. But again, it's about balance. So we also still need to involve the STE because well, we call it short-term expert, the one that also coming from FI. So STE is important still to be involved, but also with the help of the consultant because from the STE they can provide a best practice that they already have done in their utility, and with additional things from the consultant that they have a better local context, for example, and they can also continue the implementation after the mission from the short-term expert. So because usually short-term expert can only stay for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and the implementation still need to be done. So with the help of the local consultant, they can also make sure or ensure that the implementation of the project can still done continuously. So therefore, it's still important. But again, because it's still important to have a short-term expert involved. So therefore, it's not the short-term expert role is gone, but it's still there, but giving additional value to the project. Again, the example is from Ivar. It's also he currently working in the climate resilience from the Urban Water Catalyst Initiative, and he work also together with the local consultant on giving the local context, but he also to help us in doing the assessment because he have knowledge that he can give to us and also to the consultant because then the consultant also learn new thing, and if you also see in the bigger picture actually then the consultant also learn things that they can also give to other water utility. So I think still giving additional value.
Thanks a lot. Really briefly, because no, I know for sure. Please go. Please, no. But I wanted to highlight that. So that I think this is really interesting. The FAE model is one way that they have this way of keeping the continuity of balancing those things, and another, of course, is there's different facilitators that are involved, different types of organizations. We have different regional platforms. WaterAid plays the role of a facilitator. You maybe had another question. I'm just trying to close up also because we have 5 minutes. Do you want? But go ahead.
Just going to encourage us to not get stuck in this idea that capacity development is just about skills. Skill transfer is very important. It's a key part, a motivator for people to get involved in WOPs. It is a very small part of what impacts a utility's performance. So when we go into WOPs, we need to think much beyond. And every utility we work with, we support. Sorry, WaterAid is an NGO that facilitates WOPs. The resident staff are damn good already. What's holding them back is usually not skills. It's all the other things that are happening around them within their organization, within their culture, within their context. The key skill you bring to a WOP is bringing together individuals, water professionals from different perspectives, different contexts, to work together to identify what those barriers are. Where are those weaknesses that we can address? So actually it's listening, it's problem solving, it's change management. Those are the core skills of a WOP. Technical skills are incredibly important, but in addition to that, those are the things you need. So let's not, skills is great, there's a lot more to capacity and how you measure capacity than that. And just a comment, so whenever we're talking, this comes out to how do you measure the success of a WOP, we're always pushing our own donors to think that performance comes at the end. It's very easy to change performance short term. You can throw money at it, you can throw a consultant at it, you'll see an uptick. Remove that support, it'll go down again. It only comes when you increase the capacity and then you see the performance improvement. So it's not an easy sell to donors, but we have a lot of experience of doing it. But yeah, let's really focus on what do we mean by capacity and where do we focus that effort. Sorry, that wasn't a question.
That was that was a useful final comment. Thanks so much for that. Thanks so much to our panel, and we're going to close up now. We have a couple commentators who've been listening in, who are just going to do a short wrap up. Not wrap up. You're not just summarizing. You're doing more of a kind of highlights, comments on what you've heard today. So let me bring the microphone to you rather than having you come up here for the change of scene. We have Dr. Anne Bousquet from the GWOP Secretariat first. Yeah. Oh yeah, come on up here. Come on up here. Yeah, sure. Sure, come on up here.
Okay, I'm not sure about how I was introduced, and thank you, Julie, for dragging me here. No, that was very interesting. There are a couple of things that would be my highlight, and then I think Simon is coming after me, right? So I'm sure he will have also very clever comment to do on the session. That's going to be very generic, but I think we got here, in fact, the ingredients that goes in a recipe of a good WOP, of the success factors. And I think we heard all the buzz, the keywords. We heard trust. We heard also one team, one goal. We heard about streamlining. We heard about, there is a tension also a little bit between what is important to do on the field. That was Claudia at the very beginning, like it's key, but we know it's not always possible. But the good ingredient is at least to start with a personal, grounded contact, stay in the resident country, and then things can move online. And I think that's, we all saw that in our previous work on that. Alors, Mireia also said something that I definitely would like to develop much more also in the work of GWOPA. What it is about the soft skills. So it's interesting, Rob, because it's also not, you said capacity building is not just about technical training, technical skill. And when we talk about the soft skill, and both ways, I think for the resident operator and for the supporting operators, what we called before mentor and mentees, those soft skills, they are usually we don't know how to nurture them so much in the way we are supporting us as facilitators. I mean, we rely a lot of on some champions within the teams, people who knows how to do things, but also how to let others know and share, and this kind of pedagogical approach, sensitivity to cultural differences when it's the case. So all of that is also very important. We talked about change management, and that's also, it's also all the enabling factors which come into play. It's part of it in a way, but so that's also something very interesting. It's an angle that is a bit, I think, not yet enough unpacked. Maybe we should give it more visibility as well. And I'm going to use it for self-promotion, because on Wednesday there is a session, actually, sorry, you gave me the mic, on the art of partnering, and it's going to actually look into the individual aspects of the partnerships. Not institutional, but really like the people, their motivation, and this kind of question. So, I see the connecting dots between our sessions here. And I think I will finish with, I will end up with this, the joy for achievement. I can't remember who said that, but so that's also a very good one. And it relates, I think, to this idea that, yes, we need to show results, not only for the donors, but also for ourselves, to keep going. Well, so I leave it here.
Thanks so much, Anne. Anne, who's been whopping for at least 15 years with me. And now over to Simon Veenstra, who is a long-standing whopper also, formerly with Faye. Now, King of Zwolle.
Thank you so much, Julie. This I expected to be the launch of the IWA journal on WOPs, so I'm very looking forward to see it happen and see it in my hands coming up. But at the same time, I thought, I remember one thing from Malawi. If you want to keep a secret, write it down in a book and distribute the book. Because nobody's going to read. And in particular, our water sector has not a very good learning skills capacity to take information and knowledge from books. So I stress what the panelists said as well. Do spend some time on it. Because I have been going through some of the papers and I saw a little bit more than what you could have seen so far. It does have interesting stories to tell and it does have added value. Having said so, I'm also worried. This is a very nice picture, but it's not a very selling, sexy storytelling. So it is complex to find support, to get stakeholders, to get financiers behind this schedule. And that is a challenge where we all are struggling already for many, many years, I think. How to deal with that, I have not yet an answer. I always told that the WOP model is a weak model for performance improvement in a utility, but it is the only one that lasts. And I think that's still my strong point, which I do believe in. Because the model has so many weaknesses in itself in terms of it all depends, there is no one size fits all, it's not a recipe, it's not a cooking recipe. It is difficult to transfer from one place to another. And that makes it not so easy. Then, the discussion about, which also came here, between results and creating trust. If you take a look in the WOP relationship, and Amer was very quite close, I think, to what it exactly entails, it is a relationship between two partners. Now, when my father and my mother engaged in a relationship, that was a generation ago, 9 months later, the priest came at our house to check the performance. Where is the baby? There was no baby. So in that sense, the relationship was not successful. I came 3 years later and here I am. So yeah, it's you to judge. That is a difficult point. It's a very difficult point. And I think be careful with promising too much. I know that we once engaged in a project in Malawi, which was starting as a contract, and we gradually evolved it into a WOP. And the discussion was always, are you now a friend of ours, or are you focusing on the results without us as a local partner? Because as a consultant, you can always find a quick, sometimes dirty way to come to quick wins, which does not engage the local partner at all, because you can do it self better, quicker, but that's not the heart of a WOP. Now, then coming back to one other thing, and that in the Netherlands we have 10 water utilities. In Germany, Claudia? 6,000? Definitely. France, 70,000. So if we scale this up to the world, we have nearly 500,000 water service providers around. IWA is not even covering 0.1% of these as a member in their International Water Association. If we ever want to have the world to take benefit of this model, we have to accelerate and go out, because there is a whole world to win. And I cannot not escape from the feeling that I try to. This is my 3rd or 4th or 5th global WOPs Congress, so that strikes about 10 years. there are a lot of gardeners around a few WOP flowers. And that's fine, but it's costly. That's very costly. And in the current geopolitical winds blowing from the west, we should not expect soon more financing to come. So we are challenged on the one side to tackle a bigger market where the demand is huge and still growing for support, and to the other side with minimizing the resources we get or we have available. And I think that calls all upon us to find new and novel ways to reinvent the WOP model in such a way that it becomes cheaper to achieve its goals. And that is a challenge, I think, for the coming years to find, because otherwise we will stay as a small player in the big world where the problems are so huge that we can hardly touch upon all these. Now, I think that is more or less what I wanted to say. I think it's important that we start to reach out to the others waiting for us. Julie.
Bravo, thank you. I think we can wrap it up there. We've gone over a little bit. Thanks very much, everyone, for your active participation, to the panel. Great inputs, really useful. And look forward to the special issue coming out. Thanks a lot to the very hard work of class, in particular, for curating so many of these papers. So looking forward to that soon.